Good morning, survivors. It's Fantastic Mr. Ghost. And today I'm going to go over some tips and tricks on a crafting base. And this one is future-proofed so that your base doesn't turn into a big pile of mess. So let's get to it. First things first, dew collectors. So yeah, look at that. You can walk in between them. So the first thing you're going to unlock in 7 Days to Die is a dew collector. Basically, well, when you read a Forged Ahead book, your first one. So you want to start off with 1 and eventually build up to about 6. You can do more, you can do less, but you're going to need a lot of water for your drinking, your character's, thirst. Then you also have cooking. The later on recipes require water for most everything. And then you're going to need water for glue, amongst probably some other things that I'm missing here. So you can start off with 1, and then build up to 2, 3, and then 6. Now, the other issue is the mods. So you're just going to have to keep an eye out on the traders and make sure you have enough dukes. Be sure you have a cigar or, bartering, something to bring the prices down. You can also perk into things to bring the prices down, because these mods can get expensive. But that's not a problem if you're okay with cooking water. Speaking of cooking, let's get into a cooking area here. Now you'll notice that I have some different storage cases here. So what I usually do, and these are things that I do, you don't necessarily have, it doesn't mean you have to do them, but like I said, this is just a tips and tricks thing. So 3 fires. And then, obviously the biggest bottleneck here in the game is finding a cooking pot and a grill. So you'll notice that I have med, raw food, and 3 fires. You could do 4 if you want, but the main thing here is time savings, because the biggest enemy in the game is right up there, 657. The zombies are just there to, get in your way and be a nuisance. Time is your biggest enemy in the game. So that's why you want to build your base up to do more parallel crafting. So for example, what you could do here in this fire is cook murky water into regular water. Now, you might not obviously be able to get all these to be purified water generators, so you're gonna have to cook water for a while. And then there's toilets and murky water in the world that you can bring home and you can cook them. So 1 fire I usually dedicate to murky water cooking into drinkable water. Then this fire is for coffee or red tea or whatever. And then this fire is for food. Now, if you're not cooking water or anything like that, you can use all 3 for whatever you want. But having 3, an option to parallel cook, is going to save you a lot of time. So what you do is you set them all up, and let's say you're going to be doing a massive cooking thing here. Load them all up, get them all going, and then go do some trader missions. Go out and loot some houses, whatever. And then when you come back, they're all done, and you have tons of food, water, and everything ready to go. Having the storage right down below is nice, because then you can pull from this case here, your raw food, do all your cooking, and then everything funnels to this food container here. Now you notice that I have a wood one that's 6 by 9. I think it's 6 by 8. And then these are 8 by 8. These are the iron ones. And eventually you get the steel, which is, I think, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 by 8. So eventually you want to upgrade mainly your raw food one here. You're going to have a lot of raw food, And what I mean by raw food is the meat from the animals, eggs from nests, canned foods, corn. Then you have potatoes and other things like that. Stuff that you're going to process into food eventually. And then I have a medical one here, and that can be any kind of buff, like recog, first aid wraps, first aid kits, casts, splints, things like that. So you're going to be finding a lot of that stuff in the world. So I usually just throw it alongside my raw food and food area. And you can, organize this however you want. I just started with medical and then went raw food and food. So usually I put the medical one on the end and food here and then raw food here. So, and you can add another fire to this if you want. Let's say you want more, cooking, parallel cooking, you can do that. Now we've got this area here. So you'll notice that it's water, cooking, and now we're going to be doing crafting here. So the second thing you're going to unlock here is a forge. Now you can do the cooking pits before the dew collectors, but you're not going to be able to do too much until you find a cooking pot. Now, that's not saying to say you can't put these down first, and then your dew collectors, and then your forge. It doesn't matter however you do it. So I have 3 spots for forges here. We'll get into the other ones here, but you'll see that I have iron and steel in this forge, because that's the first thing you're going to be cooking is iron, and eventually it turns into steel. And iron and steel use the same resources, the scrap iron and clay. Now, the second thing you're going to unlock in the game is a workbench. And a workbench breaks out the game pretty good because by then you can make armor, the good armor with buffs, and also iron tools or steel tools or whatever, eventually. So start off with 1 of those. Then eventually you start getting into the cement mixers, and I run 2 at a time, and we'll get into that in a second. And then finally, the ever so awesome chemical plant. I think it's called chemical or chemistry. Yeah, chemistry station. So eventually you get this thing up and running, and you'll be able to cook glue and gasoline and gunpowder. Now, eventually, you'll get higher up in the game, your hordes start getting tougher, and you're going to be going from iron products to more steel stuff. And not to say you don't need iron. You're always going to need iron, mainly for repairs. But steel becomes the next resource that's going to be, you're going to need a lot of it. And then, like I said, ammo is the next thing that starts ramping up. All right, so let's go ahead and put these 2 forges in here. Oops, I dropped it. That's cool. All right, no worries. I got a new one right here. Looks like I'll have to get rid of this thing right here. See ya. So I have these cases labeled brass, lead, and cement. And mainly, like, when you're out in the world and you're finding brass, you're finding lead, and also you're mining. So you're mining iron for iron and steel. You break down doors. You get wrenching cars for the radiators. You could chuck, the extra that you have in this case here, and then you can eventually put it in here. So everything requires, let's see, bullet tips. I think I have them. Yeah, here. The bullet casings, they require clay to cast it. And the bullet tips also require clay, forged iron, and steel. So all 3 of these forges you're going to need clay for, and that's not a problem. But the main point here is time savings. Your parallel processing or crafting. So you can have iron and or steel going in this forge at the same time as brass, at the same time as lead. Now, cement is probably going to be the driver on this forge here first. Then eventually you'll start getting the lead. And cement will roll off and become obsolete once you get to steel blocks. That's what I have here, is steel blocks here. And so eventually you're just going to be doing iron, a little bit of iron and steel after every horde base or horde night. You're going to have to repair your base, and then you have brass for your casings and lead here for your ammo. So right here we'll have a second workbench, and you'll see that I have AP762 miscellaneous and AP9mm miscellaneous. So I run usually both 9mm and 762 on horde nights because I like to, keep my guns not, well, I'll have the M60 and the sniper rifle, and they degrade, right? And, of course, if you have a level 6 thing, item, it won't degrade as much, but it will degrade more with AP ammo. So it's nice to be able to switch to different guns while you're running your Horde Night. So I'll start off with a sniper rifle, and if the mobs get too big, I'll go to the M60. Well, I also have the SMG, and we're talking late game, where the zombies are just nuts. You get all radiated, everything, So it's nice to have that SMG with 9mm, AP 9mm ammo to do some crowd control. And then you could switch to your sniper when it goes down and pop some heads. Go to the M60 when it gets crazy, and or the SMG. So I'm always trying to keep these two workbenches going. Now, chances I like the M60 and the sniper rifle preferably. So this particular workbench here I have for miscellaneous. Now, if I'm not cooking any 7.62, I can use this workbench too. And what you want to be doing is you'll have like electric traps. So you may need to make some replacements for ones that are getting damaged. Now, eventually you get ahead of the curve and you're able to make a bunch and have, a bunch in a case on hand and ready to go. So you're just basically replenishing your supply, keeping up with your damages. And then you got the blade traps. Now these things, the cops will take them out. The demolishers take them out all the time. You can run bases that, have minimal damage. It's always the fun part is trying to get a base that doesn't get damaged as much, but chances are you're going to be working towards that. You're not going to be at that level right away. So as you can see, this one takes iron, steel, mechanical parts, electrical parts, and oil, which, the iron and steel, obviously, you're going to be cooking a lot of here. So what I usually do is I'll have like maybe 2,000 iron and 3,000 steel in a case just on hand and ready to go. And then I replenish from that. So, I'm always trying to get ahead of the curve and then be set for multiple Horde nights in a row. And I just, replenish when as needed. So maybe after a Horde night, I'll fix my base and go through and do all the repairs. Then I'll cook some ammo, make sure my ammo is topped off. And then I won't worry about cooking any iron or steel or anything like that or doing any mining. What I want to do is go out and do questing. Now, eventually, okay, the next Horde night, maybe I'm like, all right, maybe I got to spend some time mining and doing some steel production and iron production. So you can skip Horde nights and do the minimal amount of work, just get your base up and running and ready for the next Horde. But then you could spend, like a day more doing mining and crafting of your ingots. So let's go over here now to our cement mixer here. And we're going to spin that there. Okie doke. So when it comes to cement now, once you get the cement mixer unlocked, you're going to start wanting to cook the cement, which is here. Now, it's stone 10, and that's for 1 unit of cement. So you need, for 1 concrete block, 100 stone, which is insane. That's a lot of mining, So once you get this sucker here, and I'm pretty, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 10 to 1 from what I understand. So the reason I have 2 here is because you're going to need crushed sand here. 1 crushed sand, 1 small stone, and 1 cement. So this is 10 stone, 11, and 12. It's 12 stone for 1 little bucket, and you need 10 buckets for 1 block. So it gets pretty expensive. Cement is pretty intense on the labor. So that's why I have 2 cement mixers, because I want to crush the sand, and while that's going, I'm parallel crafting and making concrete mix at the same time. Now, you're going to find sand in the world, you're going to be digging and all that, and you get some sand and all. So you want to use that up first, obviously. And then your stone, you want to allocate to the cement mix and the concrete mix as well. So you can be, and then let's say you had enough sand. Let's say you have a lot of sand from, digging. You can use both of these for the concrete mix here. So you can parallel craft. Again, save time, spend less time in your base and more time out in the world getting stuff, because that's what it's all about. All right, the weather was looking kind of crappy, so I cleared it up so we can see. All right, so now we have our chem plants here. Let's go ahead and plop a second one down. Now, uh-oh. Oh, hi. Well, that uninvited guest was taken care of. Damn screamer. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just placing stuff down. So we got two chem plants here. Now, the first one, you're going to start making glue, first. And then eventually you're going to get to the desert, start making gasoline. But when the hordes start getting crazy, you start getting later on, you're going to be doing a lot of gunpowder. So that's why I run two chemistry stations. This one of these, the one I have marked here, basically, you want to do stacks of gunpowder. Now, originally, or at first, you're going to be running probably the gunpowder until you get the books to unlock the stacks here. The stacks are what you want. Now, let me showcase. Let's go in here. Now, if you can do gunpowder in a campfire, but you need a beaker for this. And it takes 2 coal, 2 nitrate powder. So this is not an ideal recipe, but it can be done. Now, when you get the chemistry station, it reduces it by half. So it's 1 and 1 now. The stacks, though, are an 80% reduction of the regular gunpowder here. So it's 0.8 nitrate and 0.8 coal, but it requires 800 of each. So it's not 0.8 per one. So you're making 1,000 at a time. Now, these are what stacks look like here. So you want the stacks for the savings in resources. Also, there's box ammo, and let's take a look at that. So anytime you see a box here, say box 0.44, here's the AP stuff. Now, there is a 80% reduction in resource cost to make the boxes. So always manufacture boxed ammo and gasoline and gunpowder. You can make stacks of wood, stone, iron, and things like that when you're out in the field. That's if you're doing a huge amount of mining in, maybe a day or so. And you have so much you can't carry it all, which I doubt that's going to ever be the case. But it does help if you're overweight and you just want to keep it on your character, for example. Now the stacks, you'll notice it says open here. And what happens is it's 1 to 1,000. So if I open all of these, it takes 5 slots versus 1. Now the gasoline's a little different here. 2 stacks is 10,000, which is 1 stack. There's 2 and 3. So it's kind of nice that they make it into a stack, and there is a resource savings on that. 80% savings on resources. So the gunpowder here, I don't have it unlocked because I need explosives. Oh yeah, that's right. You have to go all the way to the end. You have to get all the explosive books, I guess. Now, these take a very long time, and what I'll usually do is I'll have it all jammed up, and it takes like 900. I think it's like 900 minutes or something like that. Because up here, it'll tell you the fuel amount, or the time. Yeah, it tells you the time, and then usually I have this thing jammed up with wood. It's crazy. So that's why I say have 2 chem stations. One, you're just cranking out gunpowder, and this one is available to make glue and or gasoline. Now, eventually you won't need the gasoline. You go to the desert like maybe once, and you're coming back with a ton of oil shale, I think it's called. You're gonna throw that in here. You're gonna cook a ton of gasoline. You're gonna have plenty for a long period of time. I think I went to the desert. Usually I go to the desert once in a playthrough, and you get the Jeep. Once you get the motorcycle and the fuel savers, yeah. Once you get the fuel savers, you put them all on your vehicles, and then you get the gyrocopter, and you're able to travel a huge amount of distance with a lot less gas consumption. So gasoline is never an issue. Like I said, I go to the desert maybe once and I'm single player. It's not like I'm playing multiplayer. If you have like 4 or 5 people playing on a server or whatever, you're gonna do some more gas runs, but there's more of you, to do that. So yeah, the more people you have, the more consumption, of course. But for a single player, it's not too bad. So I do like one gas run, and then or one oil shale run. So this chem station here is open for other things, like the glue and all that. And then this one here is always running the gunpowder. Oh, by the way, you want to have a land claim block in your crafting base too, because you will have this option to pick things up. So I can take my forge and move it. So I always have a land claim block. You don't have to have it right away. You can just place it temporarily, and then you can pull up your crafting stuff. Because, it takes time to make this stuff, and it takes 15 seconds to pull up every single one of these. So we'll plop that back in there. Now, the campfires are unfortunately static. You can't, you can pick these up. Oh, look at that. Oh, it doesn't take that long. I've never done that before. Well, that's good to know. I tell you learn something new every day. There we go. And I know you can pick these up too here. So you can pick up all these things you can pick up. I don't think the storage can be picked up. No, it can't. Oh, that really sucks. And these things are pretty beefy too. So I hope that helps out any new players or existing players. My main goal here is to give tips and tricks. This isn't the end all to be all. This is just how I play. And if you have any tips of your own, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I'd be interested to see what you guys have to say. But yeah, I've been playing the heck out of 7 Days to Die ever since it went 1.0. Having a blast. And I never really thought about, the progression of the game until recently. And boy, let me tell you, this setup here has really helped me out, keeping me straight. And, I'm spending less time screwing around, trying to figure things out, and more time out in the world doing the POIs. So I went from, playing adventurer to, difficulty to warrior. And warrior is a little tough in the beginning, but I'm finding myself as I play, because I restart, I'll get to Horde 2 or 3, so day 21, and I just delete that and I start a new one, and then I retest my processes. And I've been doing that over and over again, and I've come up with this process here as a crafting base, and it's been working out really well. So I'm actually upping my game to get more into the insane level and trying to build a character and not die. So, and that's another thing too. I'm doing permadeath, quote unquote, where if I die, that's the end of it. Of course you're going to come back and go, oh, I can go back to my backpack or my bed. Well, I'll do that, and then I exit the game, delete that save, and restart. So if I die, I restart the game. That's the trick. Because in reality, if a zombie gets you, you're dead. You can't. There's no restarting. You're gone. So I like the permadeath concept because you got skin in the game, so it's kind of fun. But yeah, so this is kind of what I've been kind of developing over time here ever since I started playing 7 Days again. And so I hope to help some folks out there, kind of give some ideas. And maybe this doesn't work for you, maybe something else does, but hey, maybe something will work here. So I want to thank you for watching. Hope it helped. Peace out.